Hey, good morning, everyone. We're going to make some homemade sriracha. It's crazy right now. The price of sriracha, I think people are paying sometimes $150 for a bottle that we used to pay, what, $2.99 for? And I'm talking about the original sriracha, you know, the one with the chicken on the label. We all love it and we eat it on everything, but no way I'm going to pay that for it. Apparently, the reason the prices have gone so crazy and there's such a shortage is that there was some kind of I think it was a drought in Mexico, and so the red jalapenos that they got their jalapenos from the farm down there had a really bad incident or whatever, and they're super low. So there's a real shortage of the red jalapenos, and so the really great chicken sriracha sauce is very low and in high demand, and it's not being made very much. So we're gonna do our version of it. We're gonna do an organic one. I've been fermenting this. This is all peppers from our garden and a straight up jalapeno peppers with some garlic in it and a 3% brine. Oh, it says a 4% brine, so we're going to say it's 4% brine. That's why you make tags, guys, so you can read it. It's been fermenting for about 20 days, which is maybe a little longer than some people do it, but I, for one, really love a good fermentation. And so, you know, we did it a little bit longer, and now we're going to go for making this sriracha. So follow along, and you're going to see how we make. These are our ferments. Kind of excited to open these. So these have those little burp tops on them, and you can look back at a previous one of my videos to look at how we started this. But it was real simple. I literally just took, I think it was 6 pounds in each jar, a lot of organic red jalapenos that we grew here over the summer. I put them into my food processor and basically made them into kind of a mash, a hot pepper mash. And then with that, I put about 12 cloves of garlic in each jar, which seems like a lot, but these are half-gallon jars. And then I made a 4% brine, and you can find that recipe online, how to make a brine at 4%, a 4% brine in each of them, and then weighted them down and then just burped them basically. And they've been sitting in a counter in the not direct sunlight, out of direct sunlight for the last 2 weeks. And so we're going to open these guys up, and first thing we're going to do is put them in a pan and start heating them up on a low to medium heat. And here we go. These have not been open now for 2 weeks, so there you go. You see I've got a little jar down in there. Let me wash my hands up a little better and make sure I'm really good and clean. That's the thing you want to make sure and do, is you want to keep down any possibility, or to the best of your ability, of putting something in when you're doing a ferment. Right now we're going to be cooking it, so I'm not too worried about it. But I'm going to put a paper towel here to throw this jar on. So I've got a little jar here. If you've got the half-gallon jars, you want to make sure and keep all your mash below the level of the brine. I'm sure you've heard that before. So the really great thing that works for me is these little jars. This is just a ball jar, but it's a tiny one. And then I fill it with brine, right? And then use it for weighting down. But you can see there, this brine, oh wow, that smells great, you guys. It smells awesome. But this is really been 20 days old, and you can see there's no funkiness to it at all whatsoever. There's nothing going on there. So let me take my little tag off. I really recommend doing this if you haven't done this. These little tags, you know, I do a lot of ferments and a lot of things, so to keep track of things, make sure and put tags on them when you do them, because otherwise you're like, what did I do in this? And so this tells me, you know, what I've got in there and stuff. So I keep track of that, which earlier you noticed that I've said the wrong amount. I said I had a 3% brine in there, and then I looked at the tag and was able to say, oh, no, that's not a 3%. It is different. Okay, now this one, look here. We don't have the jar. The jar was not in here to hold this down. So we have something going on in here, and this is called cam yeast. I think it's spelled K-A-M, cam yeast. No funkiness to it. Let's see, smell. Smells fine. You see no colors in there. Cam yeast is very normal. It often happens in a good ferment, and I don't really like the flavor of it. It's not that it'll hurt you or anything, so I don't love the flavor of it. So a really good way to take care of that is I'll get a big spoon here, and I'm going to ladle that out as we go. But there's a really good example, guys, of this one was weighted down with a jar. This one was not. So still's fine, doesn't hurt anything. But you see there was no cam yeast in the other one at all, because it was all under the level. This has also got onions in it, and so the onions, I'm not going to be putting them into our sriracha sauce. I put them in there because they have a natural antimicrobial And so I used them to weight this down a little bit. And so it did kind of weight it down, but not perfectly. But this is perfect. The sauce is going to be wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We've got onions from the other one coming out too. I use them because the mash is really like thin and it easily floats to the top. So if you want to have help with keeping that under the brine, the easiest way to do it is to stick an onion on there. Sometimes I use, it depends on what I have right then, but leaves from my grape. But it's fall, so the grape leaves are very scarce right now. So I didn't have a lot of grape leaves, so we didn't work on the grape leaves. Now this sauce is really hot right now, so make sure and don't touch your eyes or anything like that after you've touched these peppers, because they've been fermenting and they smell great, but they're still going to be hot as heck right now. So, yep, that's fine. This one is fine too. Still getting some onions out of there. There we go. A couple more onions. So our next step is going to be, I'm going to clear this stuff away. We're going to get a big pan here, and we're going to transfer the stuff into our pan. And that way we can get it heating up. Throw this stuff into the sink to be taken care of. We're going to get a big pan here. We're going to put this in here with the brine and all. You can see in this jar, particularly, the brine is at the bottom. It pushed up the mash to the top, but it did its job. Just slowly, as it was fermenting, slowly kind of started going up towards the top. Towards the bottom, and pushed the brine up. Pushed the mash up, excuse me. So there we go. We've got that going on. That's a half-gallon jar. So we're going to do a gallon of Sriracha sauce ferments, but it's going to end up being probably, I'm hoping to do about 2 gallons by the time I get done with this. I like vinegar, so we're going to be using quite a bit of vinegar in this recipe. And let's make sure we've got everything out of there. We do. Isn't that lovely, you guys? Look at that. It's beautiful. I think we've got a weight down here in this one, so I'm going to do this kind of slow, see if I can find that weight. I'm like all helter-skelter here. Look at that. There was a jar in that. The jar just sunk down. So our jar went wonky. This ferment got so crazy it pushed the jar down. So that's interesting. And we've got a couple pieces of onion in here we're going to take out. There we go. So there is a full gallon of very hot, organic, farm-raised, here on our property, red jalapeños fermented with garlic. So that is going to get on the burner. Whew, it's almost choking me right now, so we know it's hot. Okay. So we're going to put that on the stove, and we're going to turn our stove on to a medium-high and let that start heating up, and then we'll add some more ingredients. Okay, so we're going to get on with it here. We've got our pan on the burner. We're going to put it on about low-medium. So we want to bring it to a boil, so we'll get that going there. Now, I know that we've got 1 full gallon, so we've got 4 quarts, right? 4 quarts of just straight fermented peppers. So I'm going to try to match that pretty closely with vinegar because I like a vinegary taste. I also know this is super hot and I want to make this so that people can actually palate it and enjoy it. So then we're going to go ahead and measure up our vinegars. I'm going to use red wine vinegar here. I've got red wine vinegar. And I'm going to use an organic rice vinegar. And then whatever I don't have enough of with that, we're going to finish up with apple cider vinegar. So we're just kind of doing this by the seat of our pants. And this is going to be you can try it my way, but you can also play it up and do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to measure this up and try to get an equal amount of vinegar as I have for my peppers here. Maybe slightly less, but I really plan to make it about equal because this is not a canning recipe per se. but I'm going to can it up and take the risk of it. So I want to make sure and put in some good vinegar so I know it's safe. And these are all 5% vinegars. Actually, the red wine here is a 6%. So all my other ones are all 5% vinegars. So you want to make sure that you have a high enough acetic acid level in there to cover and to make it close to 5% as you possibly can, because 5% is pretty good for being able to can. But I'm not condoning canning this. This is not a canning recipe. I really recommend that you do this, put it in jars or bottles and put it in your refrigerator. But I am making so much of it that I fully plan to can mine. So that being said, I'm going to get on to measuring up some of my vinegars. Okay, we've got a good little boil going on here. And again, all that's in here is our ferment. And I'm running everybody out of the house because I'm used to it because I'm standing here. But apparently the house smells very peppery, they're saying. So people are going around coughing and stuff saying it's pretty hot. So I think this must be a pretty hot spice. So we're going to turn the burner down to low, and I'm just going to keep it on low simmer. I'm going to add to this ferment now. I'm going to give it a half a cup more of some packed in garlic that I've just diced very small, and we're going to put that in there too because I really like a garlicky flavor, especially Sriracha has a real nice garlicky flavor, so that will be really good. And then we're going to add to that our vinegars, which is, this is the apple cider vinegar, so we've got a full, let's see, we've got 8 cups of apple cider vinegar going in here. See if we can get that under control. There we go, and this is apple cider vinegar, organic of course. And then we've got, let's see how many cups. We've got 2 cups of red wine vinegar. Give it some like nice complex flavors. And then we've got 3 more cups of rice wine vinegar. So this is going to give it some different flavors, and you don't have to follow my recipe completely. This is, like I said, off the cuff, just kind of playing it by ear. And I know we need some sugars in it, so we're going to do a half a cup of organic granulated sugar and a half a cup of brown sugar. I packed this in here too, so you've got brown sugar packed in. So that should be about it for our recipe. We're going to put this together, and I'm going to bring it to a boil again for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to simmer it for about 10 minutes maybe. Let it get used to the flavors and let them all kind of meld together as they're simmering together in this. And then we're going to put this through, take out that piece of onion, and then we're going to put this through my Vitamix and try to just grind it all up into a really, really thin sauce. And we're going to put it through a strainer, a fine strainer, and strain out all the big pieces. And then I'm going to see if I can reduce it a little bit here. But mostly I'm going to put it through there, and we'll add a little bit of xanthan gum in there at the end to kind of thicken it up a little bit. But we're going to let it simmer here for about, like I said, about 10 minutes. I'm not going to cover it because I want it to kind of let some of the moisture steam off a little bit. But we're going to let it kind of like a steam here, do a little slow roll for about 10 minutes, let all the flavors meld together, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so that completes our 10 minutes of a slow boil on our mixture of our Sriracha. Whew, it is spicy. So now our next step is we're going to bring it over here. We're going to put it in our Vitamix. Let it cool a little bit if you want. And then I'm going to put it in the Vitamix here. We're going to give it a good blending, and then we're going to put it through a very fine strainer. So I want to make sure that I get all the good flavors out of here. And then we'll take out anything that is thicker, and we will make this into a very nice sauce. Again, at the end, if I have to, we will add some xanthan gum to it to thicken it up a little bit. But I'm not positive we will have to do that or not. But we're going to put it through here. Stop about right there. If you don't have a Vitamix, I swear by this thing. This is my favorite kitchen tool. I use it daily. I do not have any kind of affiliate thing with them or anything, but it's a great thing. So I'm going to turn it on. It's going to be loud for a second, but just give you an idea. Okay, so we gave everything a good time there to get nice and mixed up. Got some steam rolling out of here. And then next we're going to take this over and we're going to put it through a strainer, and we're going to strain out anything that did not get mixed up in that. And we melted all those flavors together so you end up with one nice conjoined flavor with a lot of depth to it. Okay, here is our strainer, and we're going to strain it into another pan. And we're going to start by pouring it right into that strainer. Seems very, very thin, but you'd be surprised at what we're going to catch in the strainer, I'm sure. Get a spatula here to kind of work it through there. Some people take out seeds. I don't mind the seeds because I know I'm going to put it through the Vitamix, and the seeds can kind of add some more heat to it. If you don't want it very hot, a good way to kind of calm it down and cool it down is to remove those seeds. And you just kind of keep working these through here. Like we're going to end up with most of the stuff is going to be going through there, guys. Add a little bit more. My goal today is I'm hoping to get about, about 12 to 16 pints of Sriracha put away for the year for us. I have adult kids who absolutely love the Sriracha. And we eat it on everything. And we're vegan here, so we don't eat meat, but a lot of people like to put it on meat or on eggs and things like that. I love it on everything pretty much, but I love it on potatoes, all kinds of potatoes and stuff. I'll even eat it on salad sometimes. We'll eat everything with it. You know, the boys do like nachos and things like that. They love it with that. But pretty much everyone puts it on everything here. So you just kind of keep doing this. I don't think I should have to keep you here the whole time, but keep going like this until you get most of it strained through here. So I will bring you back to show you what we end up with at the end of trying to strain this. Okay, we're just about finishing up here with our putting our Sriracha sauce through our strainer. Careful, it's hot. And I want to make sure and get every drop of that good, yummy stuff. Definitely will open up your sinuses here, guys. It's working on doing that for me pretty good. Okay, so we're just putting it all through the strainer. And we didn't get too much extra pulp or anything. It looks like what we're going to finish up with here is mostly just seed. I was thinking, you know, if I had a lot of pulp, I was going to save it and put it through the dehydrator and make it into some kind of a dried spice or something, you know, a little bit of chili powder or something like that. But I'm telling you, the way my stuff is looking, Vitamix, you know, it pulverizes it. And you might not take it down as far as I did, but I wanted to get all the flavor out of it. I know how much work we did just, you know, growing the peppers and taking care of them and all that. So it's like we want to get as much as we can. And also we love Sriracha. And as stated before, it's too hard to get right now, too expensive. So this is a really good way to do it. So this is what we've got left here. And it literally is mostly seed. I don't see a need to save this at all because I think mostly what I've got here is seed. So just really go through there and mash it all through there so you get all the flavor out of there. But take a look at that. That looks like mostly just seed to me. In fact, I'll take a little nibble of it and see. Yeah, it's just seed husk. So it's up to you. But I would not personally bother saving that because I don't think anybody wants a whole mouthful of just seed husk. And that's what we're finished up with. And there is our Sriracha sauce. So we'll be moving on and we're going to get this ready to can. And I'm going to get ready to just put it in a swing top bottle for people because, again, I'm not guaranteeing this recipe for canning, but it's up to you. If you want to play around with it and can it, you do it at your own discretion. Okay, we're moving on now. We're going to get our jars that have been sanitized out. We're going to start loading up our jars to can, and also the jar that we're going to just keep in the refrigerator. Again, I'm not recommending that you can this, but this is how I can it. So I'm using regular mouth pint jars, and we should be able to get about 8 in our canner, I think. So we're gonna go for that. Put them up here. We've got our sauce sitting right here, and our tops are ready. We've got our canner heating up, so everything is on par to go. So we're gonna leave these with about, I'm going to do about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch headspace. Let's put this over where you can see it a little bit better. You can see it's thickened up pretty good. I gave it a little taste. Make sure you taste it at this point, because this is the point where you're going to want to get it to where you want it at. So I'm going to level it out just to the bottom of my funnel there. So that's about a 1/2 inch. Then we'll wipe the jars off very well with a hot paper towel with some water on it, I should say. Hot water on a paper towel. And then I'm going to process these for 10 minutes on a hard boil, at which time I'll bring them back up to the top, and I will let them sit to kind of dissipate some of that heat for about 5 more minutes on the top of the canner. And then I will take them out and let them cool. I'll put them on a nice towel and let them cool. And then I will also going to load up some swing tops and some things for eating a little bit sooner. So if you haven't made this homemade sriracha sauce, it's amazing. You can definitely do your own take on it. I mean, if you're not vegan, some people put like fish sauce in it. I know nothing about that, but you can put fish sauce in it. You can make it more garlicky. You can make it more sweet if you want by obviously adding more sugars. You can make it more vinegary by, of course, more vinegars. You saw in the beginning of this, I used 3 different types of vinegars because I love apple cider vinegar, but I wanted to give it a bit of the Asian influence. So that's why I made sure and put in some rice wine vinegar in there, and also some red wine vinegar. So, you know, you can play around with the recipe. I know there's a complete recipe from the company, but it's a secret, you know, what they've actually got in it. So we don't know exactly for sure what they've got in it. So we have to kind of play around with it. But, you know, from as far as what I could see from the label and things like that, this is pretty close. And I love the flavor. It tastes very good. I mean, it might not be exactly like theirs, but it's at least as good, or if not better, in my opinion, of course. So, you know, you could play around with it and do it like you want. And so I had a full gallon, so 2 half gallons, remember, of those peppers. So if you're going to go by my recipe, make sure that you do the math on how many peppers you're using and your fermentation at the beginning and stuff, because you don't want to add that all in for the amount of peppers I had unless you're actually doing a full gallon of peppers, because that's probably a bit more than most people would do. But at Valley Growing Gardens, you know, my kids always tell me I cook like a lunch lady, because I have a house full of kids, and most of them are now adults, but now we're starting to have grandbabies, so we're working on, you know, getting them all eating really well too. So this is how you play around with it, and obviously this is not going for the grandbabies. Don't want to kill anybody. So now I'm just going to wipe my rims off. Got my canner going here. It's nice and hot. And then you just wipe your rim off really good. And I'm using Tatler. Hot. Canning jar lids. So these are reusable canning jar lids. And so you still put your ring on it just like you do on any other one. But you're only going to put it on a certain tightness. You're not going to do it overly tight. So you barely put it on. So you put it on a surface like this where it could kind of slide a little bit. So you can still see that. And you put it on, and when the jar starts turning, that's tight enough. the instructions I've seen. So you'll just jar these all up just like we kind of talked about. I hope you guys will try this. You know, if it's not exactly like Sriracha to you, I think you'll really still enjoy it. And of course, make sure and play around with it while you're cooking it so you know if it's, you know, too hot for your liking or maybe not hot enough. That's the point where you still have it on the stove where you could kind of play around with your ingredients and kind of get it mild down a little bit or heat it up more if you need to. But then start putting your jars in your canner over here and getting things ready. These Tattler lids are kind of nice because in the time that you guys remember during the pandemic, it was very hard to get regular lids. These guys were not hard to get. Not too hard to get, I should say. And they're nice because it comes with a ring, a rubber ring like this, and then the little top, and you recycle them. The bad part about it is when you send them, I don't like to send them home with other people because then I don't get these lids back and they're recyclable. So it doesn't do me a whole lot of good to have a recyclable lid if nobody brings my lids back to me. So if I'm giving this recipe out to people, I will not use my Tattler lids. So I'll be doing like half of this order, half of this batch. The first batch I'll be doing in the Tattlers. The second batch I'll be doing with regular metal lids, just because if I'm going to give it out to family and stuff, I don't have to worry about them bringing everything back to me. So, and no, I don't have an affiliate for Tattler either, but if you like reusable things, Tattlers seem to be the way to go. They work very well. Like I said, so you put it on here, put it on the table, and as soon as it starts to spin, that's as tight as they want you to make it. So apparently it's those rubber rings must seal really well, and they don't want you to get them overly sealed because I think that they would probably burst the jars, I'm not sure. But so you don't want to overly tighten down your lids. So just put it on there and screw it on. Little twist, and there it goes. Got one more jar to fill up this pot. And the canner, it will be ready to go. I'm fishing these guys out of a very hot pot. It says to scald the lid. So I just make a little pot of boiling water and then I take it off the burner, let it cool down for a second, and then I throw the lids in there and let them heat up. So the rings are nice and hot. And there we go. We have a full canner of the canned up. And we're going to take a look here so you can see it. We've got our sauce here, and we've got the full canner ready to go of our yummy salsa. Well, it's not salsa, it's sriracha, but it's super good. So you've got to try it. It's sriracha, and I call it Mom's Gotcha sauce. So I'll get back and I'll put it in some jars, put in the refrigerator, and we'll look at that and maybe take a taste sample. Okay, and so this is the way I'm going to tell you to do it for real. You're going to put it in a jar and you're going to put it in your refrigerator, and it should be good for, with the amount of vinegar especially that I have in it, it's probably going to be good 6 months at least. I would say you should be nice and safe with 6 months in the refrigerator. But again, if you decide you want to can it, do it at your own risk. But so I'm going to fill a swing top jar here, or bottle. Got a nice funnel. We're waiting for our stuff on the stove to really come to a nice boil so we can start that timer. Oh, the smell of this is amazing. Wish you guys could smell it, but you're going to smell it because if you do it yourself, you're going to get a chance to smell it. Oh, there we go. Full jar there. And we'll bring our little jar. We've got a little half pint here. We're going to put half pint. We're going to put a half pint so we can use that also, refrigerator safe. There we go. And cap that off a little bit. And let's wipe off our jar. Even though we're not going to be canning this, we still could make it nice and clean. And we've got a swing top here, so we're going to close that up. And put a little lid on this guy. Let's find us a dish so we can get a little sample, and we can also show you guys its final consistency, what it came out like. So we've got a little dish here. We'll open up the swing top so we can look at that. Pour a little in. Oh, that's a pretty nice consistency. You see that? That's a nice consistency for a sauce. Well, don't you think? It's nice. So let's see. We'll get that again so you can kind of take a peek at it. Okay. And the pièce de résistance. Let's put some on a chip. It's thick enough to actually stay on your chip. Pretty good. You see that? And take a little taste. I don't know if that was enough of a taste. We better take another taste. In other words, guys, it's delicious. Perfect. Highly recommend this recipe. Again, remember that I did 2 full half-gallon jars, so that's 1 full gallon of red jalapeños. So the ingredients that I put in, you know, that I gave you and stuff, that was to match up for that 1 full gallon of peppers. So you kind of have to do the math and play around with it. This is not written in stone. It's kind of one of those play around recipes that you can make changes in it and do the things you want to do. But at Valley Growing Gardens, that's how we do it. And it's delicious. And again, in the swing top bottle or in this jar, you can put it in your refrigerator for probably about 6 months because it's got fermented process in it, but it's also got some vinegars in it. So it's going to be stable in your refrigerator for probably 6 months. If you decide to can it, really fun. I can mine and use it, you know, for a couple of years. And I've never had a problem with it. But it's not a tested recipe from, you know, from USDA or anything like that. So I'm not going to recommend that. But if you do it, play around with it, have fun. And you guys, make your own Sriracha sauce because who cares if there's a shortage? We're not going to go pay $150 for a bottle of Sriracha when we can make it. So make Sriracha and do it at home and enjoy eating healthy and have a wonderful day.